Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Monday, May 17th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis. Now, we have a weekly candle and a daily candle close from last week that we'll take a look at here, but I do want to jump to our ultra high time frames and see if there's anything different in the story here. And the 3 month still has no indications of exhaustion. So things look very strong from a quarterly perspective. Same situation on our monthly. You can see a huge wick to the downside, but the buyers jumped in midweek and were able to bring the market back up almost to test the all-time highs again. So we'll see if we can get any carry through this week. So here's our weekly candle that closed on Friday of last week. And we definitely have the situation that I talked about where I said that we have a slightly higher high in price, but we actually made a lower high on the RVI. Now, unfortunately, there are no defined peaks here, so we're just kind of extrapolating from this right here, seeing that the general slope is up in price, but the general slope is down on RVI. And so this, again, the pullback from the week before and then yet from last week, both made sense from our perspective. We talked about it on the mornings before the sell-offs when we started to get the indication on our daily time frames. So you can see this weekly candle looking actually pretty strong here because we sold off and it was like about 250 points. And then buyers jumped right back in and brought us all the way back up almost to test the all-time highs again. Now we are maybe, I don't know, less than 100 points from the all-time high. So not too bad. Everyone thought the bottom was going to drop out and the world was going to end. But I don't think, overall, that sell-off was nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, it was expected from these pushes. If you look, you can see that you generally have a few weeks of up movement and then a nice big correction. And then here we had a pretty drastic push, but then a correction, a push, correction. So every, I don't know, let's call it 5 to 10 weeks, we can expect to see some type of correction in the market. And that's exactly what happened here. And again, I do want to reiterate that when we had the close from the week of May 7th, we already knew there was going to be some indication of a pullback. And so it was kind of expected from that point of view. Let's jump down to our daily. And here's that indication that we saw back when this candle closed on May 7th. When we opened on the 10th for that new week there, we already had a really clear indication of some bearishness in the market. And sure enough, there was the sell-off. Now, if you remember to last week on, I think it was the morning of May 13th, I mentioned that if we do stay kind of in this area, we do have the indications of a bullish divergence. Now, we were extrapolating all the way back basically to the price action from a month or even a month and a half before this, but definitely still a valid indication. And I did say that we can pull back all the way to 38.43. And as long as we have a similar scenario here, it would still be holding this bullish indication. So I told everyone we can't necessarily trade off of it, but we do want to watch. And if we did hold the low here and we kept pushing up, that was going to confirm that bullish indication, at least for that day, if not for the day out, that day and the day after. And sure enough, we did hold and push all the way back up here. So I don't know how much that was, 40, 30, 41, over 100, 150 points. And so here we are today, up just about at Friday's high, around 41.78. And we'll see if we can kind of carry through in this move to come back up and test the all-time high. So today on the daily chart here, outside of the bullish indication that we have here, and I might as well go ahead and mark this. Outside of this bullish indication we had from the 13th, there really are no other indications right now. Currently, there are no indications of bearishness or bullishness. And we do have all day for this candle to form, so we don't really want to make any conclusive statements on that one right now. So I'm just going to kind of review this. Everything looks pretty strong, and still until we get to the weekly, just kind of like what we saw at the close from May 7th, with some indications of bearishness. But we did get over a 200-point sell-off from those indications, and that's typically what we see. You know, outside of the sell-off from COVID, when we had probably one of the biggest sell-offs in recent history. This is our typical 250 point sell-off. You can see the bars. They're about this size here, and you see them every once in a while. Again, outside of the huge situation that happened back when we shut down due to COVID. So everything currently, when we start to jump down to the shorter time frames, there's no indication from the daily of exhaustion in the current push. And so we're going to have to jump down to shorter time frames to see what it's telling us as we get into the open this morning. So remember back to Friday, or was this, yeah, I believe this was on Friday, we were looking at the potential for some bearishness here, and we had to hold below this 46.75 area, or 47.25, I think it was the level, in order for this bearish signal to hold. And then right out of the open, we just pushed right through that level, and this potential indication of bearishness was erased. And so currently what we're seeing right now is you can definitely see from the previous swing high here, for sure there's some bearishness there, right? So we pushed down in price, but on RVI we stayed just about the same, if not arguably came up just a slight bit. And so we did have a bearish indication here just at the end of Friday from last week. And then coming into Globex yesterday, you can definitely get an argument here that we pushed to a higher high, but the indicator actually pushed down a lower for that bar. So we had a little bit of a bearish indication in the local area, and then from the previous swing high. So we do have some bearishness at, let's call this high 78.75. So just 2 ticks above Friday's high is the level that we got the indication of bearishness. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And wrong button. We're going to go ahead and keep that there. And we're going to keep in mind here that from our 4-hour perspective, if we can't get above that 78.75, this bearish indication could end up following through for a little bit more movement here. Now on the current candle, there really is nothing to be said. There are no clear peaks to really make an argument from. And even this guy down here, there's nothing really to be said, because we need to come all the way back to this 05 quarter in order for us to start to see any type of indication of bearish or bullish indication. So currently we have a bearish indication off the overnight high, or the Globex high, on the 4-hour. On the 1-hour, what I am noticing is we do have a bullish indication right now off of the overnight low. So the overnight low is at 47.25, and we have a bullish indication on the 1-hour chart here. So we're going to have to watch this coming into the open, and I'll go ahead and mark that puppy right there. And we'll see what happens here. Now we are getting a push at the moment. But we got to jump down to our intermediate and shorter time frames, see if we get some confirmation of this indication right here. Now, outside of just the divergence perspective, what I would like to point out is we have a very clear leg here. Now, there are a few minor legs. So we have the entire thing from that low around 28 up to 78.75. And the retracement happens to bring us right back into this resistance that we had in the market here, right around 41.21. And if you look all the way back to almost a month ago, you can see that we had a similar reaction. So we had a nice support here right around 21.22. And then here we found some pretty strong resistance right in that area. That brings us right back to the 38 retracement. It also happens to be one of our prediction points for today. And then the 50 and the 61.8 both line up with some interesting stuff as well. Some pretty decent support in the market here from a few days ago. It's also the previous daily low here. And then our 61.8 also has some pretty good support and resistance in this area. And just a little bit deeper would bring us right back into that 77 level. That was the level we were trying to hold below to keep a bear bias just a few days ago, and then we broke above and brought us into our bull bias for that morning. So these are just some important levels to watch. I do like, from a symmetry perspective, how well they're lining up with other things that have happened in the past here in the market and with some of the more current highs and lows. And so we will have to kind of watch those levels if we do get a deeper pullback this morning. Now, let's close this. On our 30-minute, we are getting the same indication off the overnight low. So now we have 60-minute and 30-minute bullishness off of the overnight low, which is going to give us some type of some guidelines here coming into the open. If we can hold above the overnight low at 47.25, we could potentially see a push up to at least test the previous high here around 60, 63 and 70. So outside of that, I don't see any other clear indications in the local area. There definitely are no signs of exhaustion right now in this push, kind of like what we saw in the 60-minute and the 4-hour as we pushed higher. We don't see any signs of exhaustion just yet. When we jump down to our 10-minute here, I zoom in a little bit and come into the low here. What I am noticing is from the previous swing low in price here, we came down, but we actually pushed higher here on RVI. And so we definitely have a confirmation of that indication that we saw in the 30-minute and the 60-minute. And just looking back here, and currently we do have the potential of some bearishness here if we cannot get above 41.5750. So if we can't get above 57.50 here, we will have a bearish indication on our 10-minute. But we do not see that on the 30-minute or the 60-minute. So this might be something that's not as important. And so really breaking 57.50 would at least get rid of that indication, and we're going to have to watch that coming into the open. We're so close right now that in the next few minutes we could break right above 57.50 and not even have to think about this little indication we have here. But I am getting that strong indication of bullishness here off the overnight low from a number of time frames. Now there's something that I was kind of getting into on the 60-minute in terms of retracements. And let me just bring it back really quickly here. We have this whole push up, and what I said was we do have some minor legs, but then the major leg was this whole thing here. So let's just look at these minor legs really quickly. We have, if you can see it clearly on the 10-minute, we have just the smaller leg down here, right? Which coincidentally we pulled back right into the 38 and bounced. But what I want to point out is we also have this leg right here. So this low to the current high that we've made, and this low happens to be 22.75 up to the high we made at 78.75, we do have some retracement levels for this specific leg right here. And we happen to be finding support right around the 50 to 61.8 level, where we had bullish indications on the 10-minute, the 30-minute, and the 60-minute. So not a bad area to bounce. Not only that, if you look at previous price action here, a lot of resistance in the market right around 53, and a huge chop zone in here between basically, like, we'll call it 43 and 53, and that's where we're finding the support in the market right now. So not a bad area to get a bounce from. And just kind of looking back to some previous price action here, we happen to have a really strong resistance in the market right here, just about 46, 47, and that's now where we're bouncing from, this 47 area. So nice resistance in the market back just a few days ago. And then even if you look back to a few days before that, some really nice support in the market there. And then even to almost a month ago, also some nice support in the market, exactly where we're bouncing right now. So it's just something to keep in mind here. And we do have, I know we have a lot of levels in here. These levels just happen to have been very, very important in the past. And so that's why we have them on the chart. And we have seen for the last few weeks how well a lot of these levels have been working. Despite there being a number of them, the reactions are typically to the tick right off of them. And if they don't work, then typically, they're going to break. And you don't have to really, if you're going to play these levels, you really don't have to take more than about a point and a half of risk, because either they work or they're not valid. So we're getting close to the open here, and I just want to kind of review what we were talking about. Overall, we had a very clear bearish signal back before the sell-off from last week. And since then, we do have from our 1 hour, our 30-minute, and our 10-minute some bullish indications off the overnight low. Now, we do need to break above 57.50 here to negate that 10-minute bearish signal, which it looks like we're probably going to end up doing here. We just tested it. And so we do have somewhat of a bullish bias coming into the open, as long as we can stay above 47.25, which was our overnight low. So that's how we'll play it right now. We do want to at least take it level by level here into the open, unless we get a nice clear 3-minute, 10-minute, 1-minute signal coming into the open. And obviously we'll let you guys know. So there's that break of 57.50. So that one little bearish indication on the 10-minute is no longer there. And like I said, as we push, currently we really don't have any signs of exhaustion in this push. There was that 10-minute sign and it's no longer there. And so it looks like we could potentially be pushing up to test, at least come test into, let's just kind of zoom out here. At least I would think into the CP and the KP.